Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good morning. And may I start by saying I completely agree with Assemblymember Roberts' comments, and thank you for those. I didn't know they were coming. When you mentioned the good things that the police are doing at the moment, I'm surprised you didn't mention my favourite thing, which of course is that they found that stop and search, the inspector found its use was both fair and effective. And I was very pleased to see this. I know you were very against stop and search. I personally think it's a tool that we give the police in order for them to get these knives off our streets. Now, for anybody watching that doesn't know about the Peel inspection, the Peel inspection revealed that the Met is failing in almost all of its areas of work. Most shockingly, investigating crime and managing offenders, they received the worst possible rating of inadequate. The inspector said that he had serious concerns about the way the Met is handling its main responsibilities. Have you, as the Police and Crime Commissioner, actually spoken to any other Police and Crime Commissioners about the way they're improving things?
Well, firstly, just to clarify, in case of a misunderstanding, in fact, the inspectorate supported how I think stop and search should be used, which is intelligence-led, based on the intelligence, which is what the Met Police Service are doing, which has been recognised by the inspectorate, rather than stopping and searching everybody, which is a view that some people hold. In relation to the conversation we have with other police and crime commissioners and chief constables, we regularly meet with them. In fact, the HMI convenes a meeting during our police performance oversight group meetings where there are other experts available to discuss issues, including from College of Policing, chief constables and others. And often some of the things that Met Police Service are doing are used by others, and sometimes the Met Police Service learns from others. In fact, some colleagues from other police forces around the country are supporting the Commissioner in relation to some of the challenges identified by the HMI, which led to the MPS going into engage.
So have you actually spoken to any of these? I mean, some of them have made considerable improvements since 2022, which very sadly we have not.
I've spoken to a number of experts across the country. In fact, what the inspectorate recognised was that the Met Police Service's new Met London plan was the right plan. In fact, there weren't any issues raised by the HMI except for one area where the new Met London plan isn't already addressing those issues. I think the issue is the Met Police Service now recognise there are problems. There is now a plan to address those problems. The inspectorate was a snapshot before those plans have had a chance to be actioned. And over the course of the next few months, you'll see those plans actioned. And we're hoping that will lead to the changes that the HMI talked about.
You see, the problem is, I've been sitting here and you've been sitting there, more importantly, as the Police and Crime Commissioner for 8 years. Things have got worse. Knife crime is now at a record high. We've got gun crime up 20%. Business robbery is up 74%. Recruitment is down. Public confidence is down. And the Met, quite honestly, has gone backwards, certainly since its last inspection, and certainly under your watch, as it were. And yet your first response to the Peel inspection was that it was, and I'm quoting, heading in the right direction. Do you honestly think things are heading in the right direction when you've got all those dreadful statistics?
Well, I think I was paraphrasing what the HMI said, which is really important. The size and scale of the transformation being carried out by the MPS is significant. The new Met London plan is the right plan to mitigate its concerns, and we can go back talking about the last 8 years. Every crime is a tragedy. Homicide is down. Those aged below 25 injured by a knife is down. Residential burglaries are down. Lethal discharge of guns is down in the context of more than £1 billion taken out of the Met Police budget. You've seen crime going up across the country. And in relation to trust and confidence from Londoners in the Met Police Service not only has stabilised, it's higher than the national average and higher than confidence in similar police forces, whether it's West Midlands, Greater Manchester or West Yorkshire. So we are making progress, as recognised by the work we're doing with the HMI in the police performance oversight group meetings.
Yes, and you're right. They're right to say that the size and scale of the problems are significant. They are significant and have become so under your watch. Thank you, Chairman.
I've got a number of Assembly members who wish to participate in this question. I'm going to call on Assembly Member Wilson first, followed by Assembly Member Lord Bailey, then followed by Leonie Cooper, Assembly Member, and Assembly Member Turrell.
Thank you, Chair. I think it makes more sense for me to come in now than to wait for my question as it was tabled later on in the agenda. I think some of this you've already obviously discussed in response to Assembly Member Hall's questions, but I think it's worth repeating for the sake of everybody watching as a reminder just exactly how damning this report is and has been, where the best score for any of the headline measures is merely adequate, that being for police powers and treating the public fairly and respectfully, but everything else leaves so much to be desired. Preventing and deterring crime requires improvement. Responding to the public requires improvement. Investigating crime, one of the absolute core things that a police service should be doing, inadequate. Protecting vulnerable people requires improvement. Managing offenders and suspects, inadequate. Building, supporting and protecting the workforce requires improvement. Leadership and force management requires improvement. All of those are damning and individually, but particularly taken in the round. If a private company was behaving or sort of performing this badly, how long do you think the boss would still be in place?
Well, that's one of the reasons why we got rid of the previous boss. And there's a new boss now running the Met Police Service. Not sure where he's been. I was criticised for doing so, by the way, by some of this Assembly. I think the HMI report shows a vindication of my decision. So there's now a new commissioner running the Met Police Service, and he spent some time speaking to and listening to Londoners to come up with a new Met for London plan. Firstly, recognising there's a problem, not having his head in the sand, speaking to and engaging with Londoners about what they'd like to see in relation to reform, going away and thinking about some of the views he heard from those various public meetings he personally took charge of when he first became Commissioner with his senior team, working on a plan, consulting on that plan, then finalising that plan in a new Met for London plan. And what that plan does is has the confidence of His Majesty's Inspectorate as recognised in the most recent Peel report. And I think what the Inspectorate said was the new Met for London plan is the right plan to mitigate its concerns. So look, we've begun turning the tanker around. An inspection done whilst the tanker's turning around shows it's still not right. I agree with that analysis. I'll be supporting the Commissioner in having that tanker completely turned around, whether it's a private company, a tanker or the police service.
Thank you. You say we're in the process of turning it around, but we're still going backwards. And comparing these judgments with the previous report, in nearly every measure that's compared in both reports, it's either stayed the same or getting worse. And I'm particularly concerned about preventing crime and antisocial behaviour. I mean, that has got to be arguably the most important role that a police service is doing, because for any victim of crime or potential victim of crime, surely prevention is always better than cure. And for that to have dropped 2 whole grades from good to requires improvement is terrifying. And then investigating crime, probably the second most important. Once prevention has failed, then you need to step in and rectify the situation. And again, it's dropped from requires improvement to inadequate. So it's going backwards. And compared to 2016, I know the previous inspection regime had different criteria, but 2 of the 3 main areas in the 2016 report were judged good, and only 1 was judged as requires improvement. So overall, during your tenure as mayor and as the PCC, you talk about the boss, but ultimately you are the boss. The buck stops with you. You're the PCC for London. Is the Met performing better or worse since you became the PCC for London?
Well, I'm disappointed the member, in advance of preparing for this question, didn't read the report. Because what the report says, and I quote, "It isn't possible to make direct comparisons between the grades awarded in this Peel inspection and those from the previous cycle of Peel inspections. This is because we have increased our focus on making sure forces are achieving appropriate outcomes for the public, and in some cases we've changed the aspects of policing we inspect." So the premise of his question is knocked away by the HMI himself. But listen, I agree with him. The basic Peel principles are about keeping the peace, about preventing crime. And the police needs to make huge progress on this issue. The Commissioner is not in denial about this. He recognises that these are basic Peelian principles, and the member is right to be angry about the fact that there's still more progress to be done.
Can we talk about outcomes then, Mr Mayor? Since you've been in position, over 100,000 knife offences since 2016, around 1,000 homicides, nearly 250,000 robberies, and all three of those measures of particularly serious crimes, the most recent annual figures are significantly higher than the 2016-17 figures around the time that you inherited the position. You know, we have shoplifting, domestic burglary, car crime effectively decriminalised, police station closures right across London, the structure of the basic command units, meaning that Outer London in particular is increasingly becoming a police-free zone. So is London safer or less safe than 2016, and who is responsible for that?
Well, look, I mean, he mentioned the numbers in relation to his question. What he's not given is a per capita analysis of our population's risen by more than 1 million over a recent past. But I've been quite clear since I was first elected in 2016 about the consequences of austerity from 2010. We've lost more than £1 billion from the Met Police Service's budget. When I first became mayor, more than 80% of the Met Police's budget was from central government because of cuts. That's now way below 75%. We're having to fill the massive hole left by central government, which has led to not just the police buildings having to be sold off, but police officers being cut, police community officers being cut, police staff being cut, and that's got consequences.